Ever wondered what happens when love is so fierce it becomes destructive, so deep it haunts you beyond the grave? Today we're diving into Emily Brontë's dark masterpiece, Wuthering Heights. This isn't just a love story. It's a tale of revenge, class, and passion that echoes across generations on the wild, windswept moors of England. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's explore this unforgettable classic. Our story begins in 1801 with a man named Lockwood, the new tenant at Thrushcross Grange. Seeking solitude, he decides to visit his landlord, the mysterious and brooding Mr. Heathcliff, who lives at the nearby Wuthering Heights. The atmosphere at the Heights is cold and unwelcoming. Lockwood meets a strange and hostile group, a rough young man named Catherine Earnshaw, and a beautiful but withdrawn young woman, the widowed Catherine Heathcliff. A snowstorm forces Lockwood to stay the night, and that's when things get truly spooky. He's given a room that once belonged to Catherine Earnshaw. In an old book he finds her childhood diary entries, revealing a close, rebellious bond with a boy named Heathcliff. Later that night, Lockwood is jolted awake by a tapping at the window. He sees the ghostly figure of a young woman begging to be let in, crying that her name is Catherine Linton and she's been lost on the moors for 20 years. Terrified, Lockwood screams, drawing Heathcliff to the room. Witnessing Heathcliff's anguish as he calls out to Catherine's ghost, Lockwood realizes there's a deep, dark history here. Shaken, he returns to Thrushcross Grange, where he asks his housekeeper, Nellie Dean, to tell him the story of Heathcliff and the family at Wuthering Heights. And Nellie, having been at the center of it all, begins to narrate the tale. Nellie's story takes us back 30 years. She was a servant at Wuthering Heights, growing up alongside the Earnshaw children, Hindley and Catherine. One day, Mr. Earnshaw returns from a trip to Liverpool with a dark, ragged orphan boy, whom he names Heathcliff. Mr. Earnshaw dotes on Heathcliff, which makes his own son Hindley deeply jealous. Catherine, on the other hand, initially dislikes Heathcliff, but soon forms an inseparable bond with him. They become wild companions, spending their days exploring the moors, free from the constraints of society. Their connection is more than just friendship. It's as if they are two halves of the same soul. When Mr. Earnshaw dies, Hindley inherits Wuthering Heights and becomes its cruel master. His jealousy of Heathcliff finally has an outlet. He treats Heathcliff not as a brother but as a lowly farmhand, subjecting him to constant abuse and degradation. Despite this, Catherine and Heathcliff's bond remains unbroken. They find solace in each other's company, dreaming of a future together. This period is the last gasp of their shared childhood innocence before the world begins to pull them apart. One evening, Catherine and Heathcliff are spying on the wealthy and refined Linton family at Thrushcross Grange. They get caught, and Catherine is bitten by the Linton's dog. She's forced to stay at the Grange to recover for 5 weeks. When she returns to Wuthering Heights, she is transformed. She's no longer the wild girl of the moors, but a proper young lady, dressed in fine clothes and displaying elegant manners. This change creates the first real rift between her and Heathcliff, who feels his own rough, uneducated status more keenly than ever. The sophisticated world of the Lintons has planted a seed of social ambition in Catherine's heart. This ambition leads Catherine to a fateful decision. Edgar Linton, the handsome, gentle, and wealthy heir of Thrushcross Grange, begins to court her. Catherine finds herself torn. She's attracted to Edgar's social standing and the comfortable life he can offer. In a famous, heart-wrenching scene, she confides in Nellie Dean. She explains that she has accepted Edgar's proposal of marriage. When Nellie asks why, Catherine admits it's for social advancement. She says she could never marry Heathcliff because it would degrade her. What she doesn't know is that Heathcliff is hiding in the room and hears this part of the conversation. He doesn't stay to hear her declare that her love for Edgar is like the foliage in the woods. Time will change it, but her love for Heathcliff is like the eternal rocks beneath. I am Heathcliff, she says. He's always in my mind. But it's too late. Crushed by her rejection, Heathcliff disappears from Wuthering Heights without a word, vanishing into the night. 3 years pass. Catherine marries Edgar Linton and becomes the mistress of Thrushcross Grange. Her life is comfortable, but she's restless and unhappy without Heathcliff. Then one day, Heathcliff returns. He is no longer the ragged stable boy. He is a wealthy, polished, and dangerously handsome gentleman. His return throws Catherine into a state of manic excitement, much to the dismay of her husband Edgar. It's clear that the fire between Catherine and Heathcliff has not been extinguished. But Heathcliff has not returned for love. He has returned for revenge. Revenge against Hindley for his cruelty, and against the Lintons for taking Catherine from him. Heathcliff's plan for revenge is cold and calculated. He stays at Wuthering Heights, where Hindley, now a widower and a hopeless drunkard, welcomes him. Heathcliff uses Hindley's addictions against him, lending him money and encouraging his gambling until Hindley is deep in debt. Eventually, Heathcliff becomes the master of Wuthering Heights. He also begins to subtly corrupt Edgar's innocent sister, Isabella Linton. Despite Catherine's warnings that Heathcliff is a wolf, Isabella becomes infatuated with him. Heathcliff sees an opportunity and elopes with her, not out of love, but to gain control over the Linton estate and to inflict pain on Edgar. The emotional turmoil is too much for Catherine. Caught between her husband and the man she truly loves, her health begins to fail. She becomes mentally and physically fragile, prone to fits of delirium. During a heated confrontation, Heathcliff and Edgar fight over her, and Catherine collapses. She is pregnant, and her life hangs by a thread. Heathcliff sneaks into Thrushcross Grange for one last passionate and brutal meeting with Catherine. They cling to each other, exchanging accusations and declarations of undying love. That very night, Catherine gives birth to a daughter, also named Catherine, and then she dies. Heathcliff is utterly devastated. He begs Catherine's spirit to haunt him, to never leave him, because he cannot live without her. His grief is monstrous, and his desire for revenge only intensifies. The second half of the novel follows the next generation, who are all pawns in Heathcliff's twisted game. After Isabella flees from her abusive marriage to Heathcliff, she gives birth to his son, a sickly and weak boy named Linton Heathcliff. Hindley's son, Catherine Earnshaw, is raised by Heathcliff at Wuthering Heights, but Heathcliff deliberately keeps him uneducated and brutalized, mirroring the way Hindley once treated him. Meanwhile, Catherine's daughter, Cathy, grows up at Thrushcross Grange, sheltered from the world by her loving father, Edgar. She is spirited and kind, but completely unaware of her family's dark past. Heathcliff's ultimate plan is to unite the two estates, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, under his control. He manipulates events to force his sickly son, Linton, and young Cathy to marry. He traps Cathy at Wuthering Heights and forces her into the marriage just before her father, Edgar, dies. Soon after, Linton Heathcliff also dies, leaving Heathcliff as the master of both properties. He has finally achieved his revenge. He has destroyed both the Earnshaw and Linton families. The young Cathy is left a prisoner at Wuthering Heights, tormented by Heathcliff and looked down upon by the illiterate Hareton. But here, in the depths of despair, a glimmer of hope appears. Initially, Cathy scorns her cousin Hareton for his ignorance, but over time she sees that beneath his rough exterior is a kind heart and a proud spirit. She begins to secretly teach him how to read. Slowly, tentatively, a bond forms between them. They begin to fall in love. This new love, built on kindness and forgiveness, is a stark contrast to the destructive passion of Catherine and Heathcliff. It represents a chance to heal the wounds of the past. As Hareton and Cathy grow closer, Heathcliff becomes increasingly unhinged. He starts seeing Catherine's ghost everywhere. The world around him seems to fade as he becomes more and more obsessed with being reunited with his lost love. He loses interest in his revenge, in his property, in life itself. The resemblance of Cathy and Hareton to his beloved Catherine only torments him further. He stops eating and wanders the moors at night, speaking to an unseen presence. Finally, Nellie finds him dead in Catherine's old room, with a strange, joyful smile on his face. He is buried next to Catherine, their graves on the edge of the moors. Local legend says their ghosts can be seen wandering the hills together. Finally at peace, the novel ends with Lockwood visiting the graves. The world seems quiet and settled. Cathy and Hareton are planning to marry and move to Thrushcross Grange, leaving the darkness of Wuthering Heights behind. Their love redeems the sins of the previous generation, bringing the cycle of hate and revenge to a close. Wuthering Heights is a powerful, haunting story that stays with you long after you finish it. It shows us the destructive power of obsessive love and revenge, but also the healing power of forgiveness and genuine connection. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the wild moors, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more literary deep dives. See you next time.
It was a very good book. Did you like it too? You can write your thoughts in the comments section. See you in the next summary.